Hello guys, it's Richard Haggerty here, and today I want to talk about the relationship between stress and stopping smoking. All right. You see, a cigarette isn't just a cigarette, it's an invitation for the nicotine addiction to tighten its grasp on you. All right. A cigarette isn't just a cigarette, it's an invitation for the nicotine addiction to tighten its grasp on you. In fact, some people say it's like a nicotine monster inside them. Look, consider this scenario. Have you ever tried to quit? You ever tried to quit smoking? You ever tried to stop vaping? Each time something stressful or bad happened, you fold and smoke, thinking it makes you feel better. So you think you want to stop. You know you want to quit smoking, but each time something stressful happens, you fold and smoke. Now, the stressful thing that was happening is still there. And on top of that, now you've compounded it because you've begun to smoke again, and that makes you feel bad. So why do people smoke? I mean, you've got this vicious cycle going on of stress and smoking. Stress becomes the external thing, becomes the external trigger, becomes an internal trigger of a stressful feeling, and the relief or the temporary relief of going for the external behavior. So here's the question: why do people smoke? Well, they want to relieve social anxiety in social situations, at bars, at work, to deal with their life. Primarily, they want to deal with stress and anxiety. But let me ask you, how's that working out for you? Really? So here are 4 steps to beat stress and stop smoking for good. Okay, the first thing, we've talked about this in other videos, is you've got to recognize what's happening. All right, you have to notice this relationship between the stress and the response that's going on. Okay, and you need to notice it in a very particular way. You need to become hyper aware and vigilant of the relationship between the things that are going on in your life, whether you call them stress, whether you call them annoyances, irritations, worries, frustrations. The label is not important. What is important is the feeling that you get inside that drives that behavior. Once you recognize what's happening, you start the momentum going for you to be able to make a change. All right, because no one changed anything unless they could actually see that it was a problem in the first place. All right, and seeing it intellectually is very different from seeing it emotionally. And remember, if we want to change anything, it has to be on the emotional level, it has to be on a subconscious level. So one, you recognize what's happening. Second step is you identify the triggers. All right, now I talk about this in other videos, how to identify psychological triggers to stop smoking and the triggers on the outside. But for this, in this specific video, just consider stress, the stress response causing a person to smoke. All right, and as we talked about, each time something stressful or bad happens, they fold and they think, oh, this is going to help me deal with the stress. But then they have the stress of folding, the stress of regret, and compounded with the original problem. It's like compounding interest when you save something in a bank. That's on the positive side. This is on the negative. So all this does is it compounds the stress response over time. So we've looked at the first step, which is to recognize what's happening. The second is to identify the trigger of stress, the triggers in the environment. The third thing now is you can start to put distance between the trigger of stress and the behavior of smoking. All right. This is where you start to deepen your understanding of the relationship. Then you start to become more specific about the triggers, the times of day, and you start to take a step back and start to evaluate, okay, what needs to happen for this to change? And then 4, you go ahead and you implement your plan. Now, here's the thing. If you don't have a plan to deal with stress and anxiety and stop smoking, quit smoking for good, stop vaping, you will go through this cycle potentially for years and years. What do you think that will do for your confidence and your sense of well-being if you don't quit? Let's look at this just one example, what's the cost of not smoking? Or sorry, rather, what's the cost of not having a plan to quit smoking? What's the cost of not having a plan to quit smoking? Let's look at one measure, the cost of not quitting cigarettes. Okay, one specific measure could be the cost to your finances. Of course, we've got that cost to your health as well, the cost to your well-being, the cost to your confidence. But let's just look at one specific thing, the cost to your finances. Currently, it's £12.25 on average for a pack of 20 cigarettes here in the UK. That equates to 20, in fact, actually, before we'll look at it in dollars as well, but £12.25 for a pack of cigarettes, 20 cigarettes in the UK. All right, over a year, that's almost £5,000. In Australia, it's £21.43 on average, currently, 2023, for a pack of 20 cigarettes. Okay, in Australia, over a year, that's almost £8,000. Okay, if we look at it in US dollars, that's $15.71 here in the UK for a pack of cigarettes, $27.48 USD in Australia. Okay, that's over $5,700 a year to smoke a pack of 20 cigarettes a day in the UK, and over $10,000 in Australia. They're astonishing figures. I mean, we're looking at here between $5,700 and $10,000 a year to smoke. Even if you vape, the health problems, the eroding confidence, the sense of regret will just keep building up. Okay, the stresses in your life that cause you to smoke, because that's the only way that you know how to deal with it, have a huge cost. They have a cost to your health, they have a cost to your relationships, they have a cost to your sense of well-being. As we've just seen, they have a huge financial cost. Okay, and if you don't have a plan, you are planning to fail, because get it wrong and it may be too late. Medical care might be your only option. Okay, and if you think about it, as we've said, a cigarette isn't just a cigarette. It's an invitation for the nicotine addiction to tighten its grip on you. And the way it tightens its grasp on you, the way this nicotine monster tightens its grasp on you, is you've kind of been brainwashed over time to think that the cigarettes are, in the old days, of course, you would have had lots of advertising, very specific advertising to do this, like with the Marlboro Man and all these kind of things, like it was cool, it was sophisticated, all right, even recommended by the Surgeon General, decades ago, that this is the way you're going to deal with stress. But it's the opposite. What it does is it feeds into the stress response, and it feeds into this kind of form of regret, this trap of being stuck in the stress cycle. And what we want to do is we want to help you to break the stress cycle of stopping smoking by, 1, recognize what's happening, 2, identify the triggers, 3, specifically notice this trigger of stress and how it causes you to smoke, and the behavior that you're engaging in. And 4, have some kind of plan you put into place. Could be finding a stop smoking expert to work with, could be something else. But whatever it is, find your plan so you can stop smoking today, because when you do that, you can start to break this cycle of stress. You can deal with the stress either by just quitting smoking, which will stop the compounding effect of the stress, or you can have a stop smoking expert who can help you to deal with the stress directly. But either way, make sure that you have that plan, make sure that you put it into place and you implement it, because then you can break the cycle of stress and stopping smoking.